Ladies and gentlemen, it is again a great pleasure to see all the leaders from the corporate world and the BFSI sector. So we have CIOs, CTOs, CISOs from various industries are present here. I'm sure many IT security leaders remembering zero trust security as an effective approach in today's cloud first world. So let me invite the panelists for the panel session. Dr. Harold DeCosta, CEO Intelligent Quotient, Mr. Bogdan Dinu, Solution Architect, Keysight Technologies, Mr. Rishikant Shastri, Vice President Technology, State Bank of India, and Mr. Rakesh Kerwal, CEO, Rock Ladder Technologies. Can I have the mic here? So let me introduce about the panel discussion session, how we want to go ahead. The theme is very well mentioned on the backdrop. Zero Trust is a network security model based on a philosophy that no person or any device inside or outside of an organization network should be granted access to connect to IT system or services until authenticated and continuously verified. The Zero Trust model relies on strong authentication and authorization for every device and person before any access or data transfer takes place on a private network, no matter if they are inside or outside that network perimeter. The process also combines analytics, filtering, and logging to verify behavior and to continually watch for signals of compromise. If a user or device shows signs of acting differently than before, it is taken note of and mentioned as a possible threat. The industry has seen a growing trend around a security concept called Zero Trust. Zero Trust is a singular point product, but rather a combination of different solutions, what we have heard from various speakers, solutions working in concert with one another. Whether you have already implemented Zero Trust in your organization or you are just at the early stage of your journey, Keysight is a partner you can trust. With this note, I have a question. The format is, I will ask one question. I'll pick up one panelist. So other panelist has to say, do you agree with this or not? If you don't agree, please evaluate it so that we can continue, we'll make the session meaningful. To start with, can you share the best practices to be followed on the core principles behind Zero Trust security and networking deployment? I will start with Rishikant.
Hello everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank VAR for giving opportunity to be part of such a prestigious panelist. So yeah, before directly jumping to the core principle, I'd like to touch base upon the Zero Trust. I guess sir has already trusted upon the theoretical, but I'll put it in a simple word. It's nothing but a strategic approach in terms of cyber security wherein organizations secure themselves by eliminating implicit trust and making sure that they validate every digital interaction. In other words, we can say it's unifies the manifest of all the cyber security facets. Basic assumption is don't trust anyone and make sure you authenticate, validate devices, applications, networks, end user, whatsoever it may be. So now jumping to the core question or principles, we or rather I have put it into 4 steps, core principle for implementing the Zero Trust framework. I will say, I won't say device, I won't say platform, I will say framework. So first and foremost, make sure you have defined your resource. You have tagged your resource, which need to be protected, of course, which includes your data, your applications, your devices, last but not the least, your end users also, who is going to access the application. Step 1, define it, tag it. Step 2, make sure your communication is secure. within the external network, internal network, that doesn't matter. Make sure that network communication is secured one. How that can be achieved? We have a lot of solutions and there are a lot of ways. Third principle, I'll say it, that all the activities to be monitored and recorded. Monitoring is quite, very often very common, but we don't record. We record only the alerts or maybe something which is highly achievable or something like that. But we don't record the regular alerts because it consumes or it involves cost also. However, if you are talking about zero trust, then my third principle says all the activity need to be monitored and recorded. Last but not the least, whenever I give the access to user, it has to be for certain purpose, and as soon as that purpose is achieved, I will revoke that access. So if I follow these four basic principles, I guess I can implement any framework or zero trust framework across organization. To further simplify, for a common layman, in 3 words or 3 sentences, zero trust framework, I will keep it that please verify all users, validate all the devices, and intelligently limit the access. I guess these 3 things will sum up the basic principle of zero trust or something. For further points, I guess my esteemed panel will add some more points on this.
So you meant to say trust but evaluate.
Absolutely.
So Rakesh, how you will address this?
I think he summed it up very well, so there's nothing more that I can add on this. But yeah, it's all about the way we've been looking at security over the years. It's primarily been focused on perimeter, building those castles, trying to fortify, entry points. But with the world changing, with the cloud coming in, with the digitalization happening, with people working from home, the perimeters have disappeared. So you need to, then the entire journey has to be mapped in terms of, not just looking at the alerts and logs as, he rightly said, but also looking at the identities and devices and monitoring all of it and also responding in real time. So that becomes very important. And other parameter of, the digital trust, apart from looking at what you can see, what you can manage in your organization, you also need to look at the things that you are not aware of, or things outside your organization, which is internet and dark web. So threat intelligence becomes very, very critical, and the earlier presenter was also alluding towards it. Solutions like threat armor, threat simulators, they are very, very important in terms of not just monitoring the threat landscape within your organization, apart from looking at the access and the identities and the policies related to these two, linking to applications and devices, but also monitoring what's happening in the outer world about your organization, about your identities, about your assets. That becomes very, very critical.
Wonderful. Dr. DeCosta, how you will present it?
I think most of the points are extremely nicely covered by my other panelist members. Only a couple of points. I think I would like to add that compliance is something which is very critical, and audit. Audit means a real-time audit in which you can exactly come out with what are the threats and have a patch management to ensure that the security breaches are being minimized.
Okay. Bogdan.
Yes, thank you. So you mentioned compliance, and I have also I had heard nice stories about compliance, about companies who, even though they are compliant, they are still getting breaches a lot. So I guess my takeaway about this is don't do the security just for the sake of compliance. Make sure you are more than compliant. So do the compliance for the sake of compliance, but do the security for the sake of your business. So sometimes it pays to be more than what the compliance is asking for, meaning that the compliance is a set of rules, but those rules can leave gaps in your defenses. So of course you have to continuously validate and audit your defenses and your people, not just for the sake of compliance. For example, the people, They are sometimes part of the compliance, but they are sometimes not. So you have to train and validate also that the people know what they are doing in your organization. So we have best practices which say you should send spear phishing emails to your own people, to your own suppliers, to make sure that your entire chain and your enterprise is prepared in the case of an attack. This is achieving two things. First of all, it's showing the amount of people that need training, and and it's also showing if these attacks get past your security perimeter. Thank you.
Wonderful, so wonderful. I would request we have so many CIO, CTOs staging in the hall. Please keep the point noted. If our panelists missed out any point, we will have a time where you can participate in the Q&A session. Okay, now we're moving to the second question. How important is the zero trust security and perimeterless security by keeping in the mind of growing security challenges? So I should start from Mr. Rakesh. If you can keep the time limit in 3 minutes, it would be great.
I will try my best.
Please.
Because this is my turn.
I know. Yes.
My turn to speak now.
Okay,
and
please.
I've patiently waited.
Yep.
So mostly the zero trust story, I'm sure if people were aware of it, and it's fairly simple to understand, but some of you who are hearing it for the first time, I'm sure in last 1 hour, you've absolutely understood what zero trust is. But I just wanted to go back and, I don't want to talk more about the strategies and policies that have been spoken enough, but I want to take you back to the journey of, my own experiences of last 20 years in cyber, and I've seen the whole industry evolve from the firewalls and antiviruses to today's zero trust conversations that we are having. So one of the things is security has always been reactive. You agree with me?
Yeah.
It's always been an afterthought. How even today it's mostly afterthought, correct? You breached, some attack happens, some compromise happens, and immediately you get all budgets, all approvals to invest, correct? So that's how the journey has been. And when you look at trust as a concept, if I were to look at human beings, what is our natural tendency to trust people? I believe there are only two ways that two people trust each other. So either you begin by trusting that person 100% till he breaks your trust, or you start with not trusting somebody till he earns your trust, till you start, he demonstrates by his behavior over a period of time that, he is trustworthy or is loyal or is committed. And that's when you see organizations also, when a leader moves, a lot of people move with him because there is that trust factor related to that. So over the years, cybersecurity also followed the similar human behavior. We always thought that, okay, if he's a leader, if he's in a senior role, if he's the CEO or a CTO of an organization, he definitely is trustworthy. The power users. And that's how our security policies got defined. And we started saying that, okay, somewhere in between the journey, the concept came that trust, but at least verify. Not everybody, but most of the people you must verify because they may be new employees, they may be people lower down the chain, they may get compromised. Of course, till the ransomware attacks and the bots came into picture, the game changed. And today, when you talk about trust, the whole journey has gone from trusting to completely zero trust, where you say, do not trust anybody, anytime, always verify. That's the whole game. Now, early examples, I can take you back to about 15 years ago when DLP as a concept was just coming up. And DLP was a concept where you first time talking about monitoring data. Looking at where the data is flowing, getting visibility into data. And I don't know how many of you were there, but if there are any early adopters and those risk takers on data DLP solutions, the DLP solutions when they were deployed, the first thing that happened was you created it on certain words. Like if there is a confidential word, do not send it. If there is a price in a email, don't send it, block it. And suddenly what happened? The one fine day, the CEO's email got blocked. So you had a CEO who wanted to send some urgent mail, and because those confidential words were there, it got blocked, it didn't go through. What would have happened after that? Any guesses? And this was a very common thing those days, huh? The early first year of adoption of DLP. The IT manager got the call from the CEO's office 5 levels down, and what would have happened? That was the end of the DLP project. It was unplugged, kept aside. So, and that's where this whole concept of power users, they would be allowed all access, allow everything. They're all admin users. And when you had the malwares coming in, the ransomware attacks coming in now, that's when the whole story changed, saying that, oh, I could use the admin logins to get into the organization and leverage. So these are the kind of things, and of course, the perimeterless concept that you're mentioning about, a time came when the whole world only had 2 kinds of organizations. And organizations that have been breached and know about it, and of course the other ones, the organizations who are breached and don't know about it. But of course, I had a very interesting conversation. I found a third set of organizations also, especially in the government. Organizations who know they've been breached about it, but pretend that they don't know about it. So that was a big learning for me as well. But that started changing the perimeter story. And that's where the concept of, zero trust, or even the concept of zero trust, of course, started about 10, 12 years ago. It was coined for the first time then. But the whole journey towards perimeterless organizations, working from anywhere, working from home, cloud workloads, private workloads, all that concept started, coming in the last 5, 7 years. And of course, the COVID and the digitalization of technology has accelerated the adoption of zero trust. So the whole concept, I don't need to elaborate much on it, but the journey has been towards this, that you will have to look at, not just the typical, another challenge what happened was, and I don't know how many organizations have this today. There used to be separate network management team, separate endpoint management team. They would not talk to each other. So the network management team would figure out some branch, some endpoint has been compromised. He cannot take action. He has to tell the endpoint team, that guy is going to take that action, and if he's on leave, by any chance he misses the mail for a week, 10 days, there's no action happening. Then came the SOC operations. Somebody said, oh, we need to drive visibility. Because we're not able to drive visibility, then a third layer was created of SOC operations. They would not talk to the network guys. The network guys would not talk to the endpoint guys. So you had 3 layers of security management coming into play, and they would then start creating this. Now with zero trust, what's happening is, it's not about managing your endpoints, managing your networks, but the key important thing, and that's been highlighted so many times, is how do I integrate identities into my visibility, into my monitoring, into my response? How do I integrate device surface area? How do I integrate all that into my visibility so that I get a holistic 360 degree view, not just through my networks and my endpoints, but also to the people and the devices they access, the applications they access, from where they can access. So that's what holistically is building zero trust. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, you are absolutely right. Mr. Sastri, you are working for a largest bank in the country. What is your experience, if you can evaluate something?
I guess sir has extensively covered the entire panel discussion topic, and I should not consume more theoretical stuff, but I'll try to give some different angle pertaining to perimeter, or what is perimeter or perimeterless kind of stuff. Perimeter kind of stuff or jargon, I will say, we used to use during our traditional securities, where when we were confined to single network, or maybe confined to in-house network, we call it as intranet or something like that. So as soon as our interaction with other world, or our digital interaction, I will say, started, because as we all know, the scope or spread of data source devices started, multi-folds. This perimeterless concept started, or that has been invented. That now we are not confined to that particular boundary. Now it's perimeterless. So I should be in a position to identify a bad guy or good guy, If that is not possible, if I'm not able to identify between the bad guy and good guy, then what is the solution or what is the framework? Zero trust. Authenticate, validate everyone. So my concept again, or my submission regarding this concept to cut short, yes, it's very key when you're talking about perimeterless, without or outside my boundary, not confined to my internal limit, I have to use this framework. But yes, there has been, we have to strike a right balance, because sir has rightly mentioned the example of CEO. If I don't strike a right balance, then entire thing will go for a toss. So if I start implementing n number of devices, tools, and I have a very pakka zero trust framework, and my first page is taking 15 minutes to load, my entire business will go for a toss, because I'm not a police or just a gatekeeper to stop people and check. I'm here to do some business. So striking a right balance between the convenience / security and implementing the necessary steps for framework is a key. So that's my submission.
Wonderful. Dr. DeCosta, you want to say something?
I think all has been covered.
Any one point master left?
Yeah.
So where is the zero trust breach?
I would only say, with the advent of cyber crimes increasing, exponentially, I would say that for a corporate network, if there is any breach of trust, let me tell you, if that happens, if your system is not secure, then it will take a lot of time for any investigation to be completed. So prevention is better than cure, number one. Number two, if the same attack would have taken place on protected system. Now, protected systems are sites like income tax, Aadhaar. So if an attempt itself is made, forget about accessing the network. If an attempt itself is made, an offense is registered. The person is arrested. So I think we should be very cautious to that fact that when you're talking about the zero trust, this trust is a term which has to be taken with a pinch of salt. If that T is removed from the trust, it becomes rust. And I think the time has come that we should remove that T and just say that key relationship as an users in the organization, let it be rust, because over trust can become a problem to the system as such.
Wonderful. Mr. Bogdan.
Thank you. So this just reminded me of an anecdote. I don't know if it's true or not, but when sometimes the zero trust can also be breached, and I'll tell you what I mean. Too much zero trust is not always too good, because sometimes you need systems to be able to respond to events that happen with your organization, and your security teams need to be able to somehow control the zero trust. So you need more control on the zero trust than the average user has. So my example is when the Facebook breach happened, or when the Facebook failure happened with the whole DNS that made the Facebook and everything, all the services unavailable for a few hours. The anecdote goes that the people who were sent on site to repair the routers and the BGP and the problem and the DNS, they couldn't access the building. Their access cards didn't work because the access system was also using the same DNS and BGP system that the production network was using. So in this case, you need a system to bypass the zero trust. So yeah, planning for zero trust is perfect, but planning for incident response is also important. This is my takeaway.
Wonderful. So this incident response has to be faster. On this note, there will be a challenge for 1 minute challenge among yourself. So like how to redefine zero trust and what are the mechanism to verify zero trust is working absolutely fine. Can you start with Dr. DeCosta? It's a 1 minute challenge.
I think I'll just finish in 10 seconds,
No, 1 minute. You have to complete 1 minute. 1 minute, complete.
Because I think, all the solutions has been given by all the panelists, so I don't want to reduplicate it. But then, no, if you say that 1 minute I have to consume, then I would only say that, whatever you are doing it, whatever the system zero trust, what you're talking, in terms of its efficiency, it should be portable, reliable, it should be efficient, human engineered, it should be testifiable, it should be understandable, and last but not the least, it should be modifiable, not according to the user's requirement, but according to the organization needs. That's the only thing I would like to put it about it.
Can it be zero trust in a box?
In what perspective?
In box. Suppose you have got entire solution in a box.
Silver
You-
bullet, no chance.
No chance? Okay, we'll listen from Mr. Sastry.
Yeah, so to the point again, I like to give a little bit of practical aspect now. Sir has asked about redefine. Redefine means I have already defined and I need something went wrong and I have to redefine. So how it can be possible? Very simple. I need to have necessary policies, guidelines, SOPs, standard operating procedures, how to rework or how to configure the necessary parameters. That is the only way, and this is applicable for entire organization. There is no other way. There is no point if I have some vendor 1 and something goes wrong, I will redefine with vendor 2. No, I don't think so. You need to have the standard policies, guidelines and SOPs, and your redefining process will work. The sir has asked second question, how to make sure it is working all okay. Well, I don't think most of the large organization will take a chance and simulate. There are a lot of simulation tool available, okay, but I won't be going in production environment and applying the simulation tool whether it is working or not. No, I'm not going to do, because my entire performance will go for a toss. So how to do that? Okay, so whenever, it's again a simple thing, you follow the software development life cycle. So what you do the SIT, you do the UAT, user acceptance testings. Before going for CUG, I guess most of the organizations following this thing also, you need to go through this thoroughly framework, zero trust framework, which is working or not. Over there, you do with simulation tool, or you do manual something for bootstraps or something like that, and make sure that your necessary permutation and combination pertaining to zero trust along with business validation is working or not. That is the only way we can trust. In between, if you feel or if you get some alerts or something like that and you have to just check it, I guess that has to be manually only, at least in larger organization and larger transaction. Maybe in a smaller, you can just check it in your production environment also. But in larger organization, in the production environment, in introducing the simulation tool and getting checked, it will be very difficult, very, very difficult. So best way, check it in lower environment before moving to production. That's my take.
Right, Mr. Rakesh.
I also have to speak a bit.
Yep.
So yeah, that's better. So I'll just add to a couple of things on this revalidation part, and how do you, especially what he mentioned about zero trust also is a challenge. So one of the things that is happening is you're seeing a huge layer of security analytics coming up, big data analytics. That's becoming a big thing because millions and millions of alerts and events are being fed, and when you're talking of identities being integrated, devices being integrated, accesses being integrated, you're pumping in billions and billions of events. So the AI machine learning concepts are going to become more and more popular, and they are going to, human brain is not going to be able to analyze all of it. So what's going to happen with these platforms coming in, and AI especially is all about learning. So what you're going to do is you're going to let your systems, learn behavior. They're going to learn, okay, this is a guy I've trusted. These are the things that he does in an organization. These are the things that he accesses. He's from this department. He communicates with these 5 people. The moment you see a deviation, you're going to raise a red flag. And that red flag goes to somebody as part of the process where he then validates, checks, or it could be an automated system as well. And that's how these systems are going to get refined and refined and refined. And that's what is happening, whether you talk of EDR, MDRs, XDRs, there are a lot of false positives being generated because you're generating tons and tons of events and logs. And this is not going to stop, because the more you automate, the more you integrate, the more you want intelligent systems, you're going to capture more and more data. And you're going to integrate and make sense of it. And that's where you'll have to constantly keep learning. Your systems have to constantly learn. And I think that's what will keep bringing down your false positives. And that's what over a period of time will become as close to being perfect. Of course, you'll never have a perfect world. We only have perfect intentions, as they say.
Right. Bogdan, do you want to evaluate something?
Just really quick.
Yep.
10 seconds. you can also pick a framework. The most well-known is probably the MITRE ATT&CK framework. There are others out there, but make sure you pick a valid and good framework for your validation. And if you don't know what a framework is, you can search up MITRE attack frameworks or other attack breach and attack frameworks, and you'll find it has thousands of attack types that are being developed every day now. So, yeah, that's my comment.
So finally, there's a one sentence challenge. It is a bold statement is every network is vulnerable. What is your take on it?
Sure.
One sentence.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I think we all agree here.
We need your statement.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. As somebody said before, there are two types of organizations: the ones that have been breached and the ones that don't know they have been breached. Or there's another version: the ones that will be breached. So yeah, no network is 100% secure. There are people whose daily life consists of finding those breaches and those vulnerabilities, and those can be white hat or black hat hackers, depending on depending on what their intention is. So they can be good or bad. I think it's enough.
Yes, Dr. DeCosta.
Yeah, I think there is no 100% solution or 100% guarantee. There's not a guarantee for a human life. You cannot have a guarantee for any system as such. But there's a saying, you know, plane accident, train accident, there you are, plane accident, where you are. But that doesn't mean that we don't travel in the plane. So similarly, I think we have to go with what we have, but to ensure that we have the best security practices to be followed. All said and done, the plane accidents are the least. It's considered to be the most safest. But if at all a crash takes place, then I think the survival is the least. So similarly, when we have a network or a system in place, when you have got a zero trust network also in place, doesn't mean that the breach won't take place, but the quantum of the breach taking place will be least.
Wonderful. Mr. Sthal.
I'll put it again in a practical aspect only. I don't believe in most theoretical stuff. So I'll start my framework with an assumption. My network defense will be imminent. It is bound to break. That will be my first assumption. So I have to be prepared. I have to be prepared for, respond, and recover. If I have that sort of assumption, my framework will be pakka. So yes, absolutely spot on. It is going to be breached. Let's start with the same assumption only. So you're well prepared to respond and recover. Because just keep on going, or just waiting for the alerts and all these things, these are like secondary things. So yeah, this is the one line I will say.
Mr. Rakesh.
Secure networks or networks that can't be breached, according to me, is a myth. Same way as one of the reasons is that the silver bullet eludes the industry. We're all looking for the silver bullet, which can give us 100% security. That's not going to happen. And the only thing, as he also rightly mentioned, I agree with him, is the only thing is, because you assume that you will be breached or you're already breached, the only way is to figure out two things in cybersecurity: how soon can you detect so that you minimize the damage, and how soon can you respond. So incident response is going to become a big play going forward. Your playbooks and everything, that's going to be critical. So it's all about speed of detection and speed of response.
Wonderful. So what a power-packed panel discussion, and we have various takeaways from the discussions. Extremely, Rakesh has spoke very well with his 20 years of experience. Mr. Rustogi has talked about his experience into the banking sector, and Dr. DeCosta has put his on the commercial and legal perspective, and Webogdown has spoke about the international exposure and what the remedy, all this. Hope you must have a wonderful takeaway from this, and thank you so very much, the panelists, for joining the session. Now I request Mr. Manish Gupta to join and felicitate the panelists. Can I have the token of appreciation?
And while I want to thank War India and also Keysight for giving us this opportunity and for this wonderful panel discussion, thank you.
Wonderful.
And thank you for the audience for making it on a Friday evening.
Sorry,
you guys
we cannot
are brave.
take the Q&A session,
You guys are
but
brave.
our panelists are here. You can take the questions, any questions you have offline.